Gil Capps from the Golf Channel to give us a little insight, Gil. Can you explain what the heck was going on out there yesterday? Because it seemed like a lot of players on the tour took to Twitter yesterday to kind of give it to the USGA yesterday.
Well, I'm not that old, Mike, but I thought I'd seen everything. I guess I hadn't until yesterday afternoon. I don't know that you have, the next hour to talk about this because it seems like, a lot of people in golf and the sports world have been weighing in. Where to start? I mean, to have, I think the overriding issue is that it's a major championship, right? It's the US Open. It's one of the four majors, and arguably, historically in a lot of people's eyes, in Americans' eyes, this is actually the biggest because it's the national championship, and to have a player who's in the lead, in playing his final 7 holes, to have in the back of his mind, I don't know if I'm leading or not, or how many I'm leading by. After this is over, they've just come up and told me, the ball that I think I did not cause to move back on the 5th hole, which was 7 holes before this, that after the round, I'm going to have to go in and look at it, and I may or may not be penalized. That's crazy. I mean, that's basically like, the second quarter of the final Game 7 game last night. Maybe there was a shot that LeBron hit, and they can't decide whether it was a 2 or a 3. But you know what? They're going to wait until the end of the game, and then they'll go back and look at the tape. It's kind of like that. That sounds crazy, and to most sports fans, some of the arcane rules and how things are conducted in golf, seem like that, seem archaic, and that's a problem the sport has now in this day and age with the way the millennials operate, the way we consume our leisure time. Golf is kind of in a hard place, and a lot of people in the industry are looking to grow the game. And how do you protect the game, protect what it's about? Because there's a certain charm to the game of golf. These rules nuts and all these little rules, and it's very much a game of honor and a game of gentlemen. But yet, now in the 21st century, make it, put some common sense into the game. And so that's kind of a big picture take to it.
Yeah. Now you talk about honor and stuff. We saw a spot where that happened earlier with Shane Lowry, who, he admitted that he had to take a stroke penalty for something that he did wrong as well. But it seemed that Dustin Johnson had no idea what they were even really taught. They asked him, on the Fox broadcast, they had mentioned to him, do you think that you did anything? And he kind of seemed like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't think so. But you wonder, what was going on there that they didn't make the decision until after the round was over? Was there murmuring going on throughout the Oakmont of hey, this is looming? Or did he have any idea that this was a possibility?
When he was told on the 12th tee, somebody had alerted the USGA officials that this is something they may want to take a look at further. Even though at the time, some of the confusion is, at the time when it happened, he brought in a rules official and he said, I did not address it. I hate to get too far into semantics, on the show, but basically when you address the ball, you put your putter or you put your club behind the ball, and that's considered addressing the ball, not what he was doing where he was taking practice strokes, in front of the ball, and then, he almost put his putter behind it, but he just didn't. He didn't address it. Yeah, that's considered addressing. Now, it used to be in the rule book where if you address the ball and it moves, there was a penalty no matter what. But they changed that to account just a couple of years ago to account for wind and variables if your ball to move and you actually didn't cause it. But now the rules are a little more looser where it's more open for interpretation where, the USC officials wanted to look at it further to see, well, he didn't address it, we know, but did he cause that move by what he was doing and by putting his putter head on the ground, beside the ball and not in front of it. Now, he wasn't told that, until the 12th hole. And that's kind of the controversy because in golf, one of the things about it is that when penalties are assessed, they usually like to have a conversation and let the player plead his case before that penalty is put on the card. And so to give Dustin Johnson, once he finished his round, a chance to go back and look at him on tape, talk to the officials about it, and then decide whether or not the officials just decide on their own at that time whether it was a penalty or not. Is there something should change? Possibly. But, it's always been, the rules have always been in the player's hands, Mike. And that's another issue with this here is that, and the USA has got a big bashing on this. But the guys used to play on the PGA Tour are all these players. The PGA Tour is a players-run organization, unlike most any other organization in sports. Basically, it's, this is the union, and the union owns everything and runs it. And the four majors during the year are not PGA Tour events. They're run by the Augusta National Golf Club, United States Golf Association, the RNA of St. Andrews in Scotland, and the PGA of America. So those, and you think about those are non-union events, and so they're being conducted and rolled upon by people, and the players only see once a year. And so some frustration, I think, comes out of that because, not saying the PGA Tour rules officials in any way aren't above board and aren't always, going by the letter of the rules. But we've seen certain instances on the PGA Tour where players are given the benefit of the doubt and the player's word is taken almost at 100%, even over some video evidence we've seen where we thought, man, that this guy's going to get a penalty, winds up in the end not getting one, and here the penalty almost swings back the other way.
Gil Capps, the managing editor of the Golf Channel, is with us, and at the Oakmont yesterday we saw Dustin Johnson win his first major. He becomes the seventh player overall and second American to win both the US Open and a WGC event. And look, I think Johnson has been kind of kicking on the door here. He is finished somewhere in the top 5 in the leaderboard, 11 straight rounds at the US Open. So he has really played well, but that means that somebody who was in the lead, he took a 4-stroke deficit. What happened to Shane Lowry there? Did the moment just kind of overtake him? I mean, what happened to him on that final Sunday?
Everybody talks a good game when they're up there near the top of the leaderboard and things are going well and they're confident, even when maybe they're not. And Shane Lowry had come off his last event actually over in Europe a couple of weeks ago, really struggling with his putter. Actually, he 5-putted a green over at Wentworth, and he had been struggling, and he kind of caught me a bother the first 3 days. Sometimes, under pressure and under the final round, of major championship, you kind of revert back to who you are. It's kind of like the big talk. I know the Western Conference Series between Golden State and Oklahoma City, the big talk was when it got down to the pressure in those big games, Oklahoma City was playing well, but then they reverted back to kind of who they really were, and that kind of happened to Shane Lowry. He's a very solid player, and hopefully will have some more chances in major championships, but he's been struggling kind of on the greens and kind of with his game a little bit, and that's magnified if you don't really have it together. It can go in a heartbeat. Like we talk about, there's 3 kinds of golf. There's golf that you and I kind of go play. There's tournament golf, and then there's tournament golf from that window of like 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and that's a completely different type of golf than anybody can ever imagine.
It was good to see, I guess, Sergio kind of play pretty well for the most part. Jason Day made a little charge there in the end. We didn't see a great weekend from Rory or Phil. I don't know, overall, was it a drama-filled U.S. Open? I mean, did it have that feel being out there?
It helped having that penalty or not penalty wave hovering above the entire field. Oakmont's guy is such a tough golf course, and if they hadn't gotten all that rain back Wednesday night and into Thursday, the scores we could have seen would have been historically high here in the modern era. golf. It really helped soften it up and really played into the favor of Dustin Johnson. You know, I'll go back to that. I was actually on a flight this morning with one of the leading caddies on tour sat beside me, and as we talked a lot of golf, and the conversation turned to, you know what, it only about, you know, a handful of guys that have handled that on the 12th tee, learning that and being able to keep their composure the rest of the way. And one of those guys is Dustin, because he just kind of lets things go off in his shoulders. He's kind of like a water on a duck. You know, Jordan Spieth, Rory McIlroy, they would have lost it if they had been on the 12th tee. But Dustin's he's a different cat, so it really played, you know, to his advantage. To get these majors, you got to get breaks, and in a sense, I almost think that may have helped him and calmed him down, and yet other guys fall apart around him too on this tough golf course. And you know, now going forward, you know, the question is, what's Dustin Johnson going to do at this? Is he going to be, you know, a guy like Tom Weiskopf 40 years ago, who was one of the most talented guys on the tour? He won his one major, and that was it. Or is he going to be Phil Mickelson, as we talked about last week, who won his first major at age 33, and he just catapulted that into, you know, his Hall of Fame career and added 4 more majors on top of that? You know, which way is Dustin Johnson going to go?
Gil Capps from the Golf Channel. And by the way, the British is coming up July 14th through the 17th, and we'll have some coverage of that final round Sunday here on 97.3 ESPN. And Gil, hopefully we will tap into your insight for that one as well.
We're looking forward to the British and seeing if he can pull off that Open double, which Tiger Woods lost in 2000.
Unbelievable. That will be a great storyline leading into it. Dustin Johnson, your U.S. Open winner. Thanks, Gil.
Mike, as always, thank you. Have a good week.